Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar, and I'm joined today by Dirk-Jan de Groot and Jan-Jaap Kennigetter, and they will be talking to you today about survival technique for testers beyond the T-shaped tester. And we're delighted they've agreed to come along and join us, and they're popular speakers at Eurostar, so it's always good to hear from them. And Dirk-Jan as well has also won the Testing Excellence Award, and it's great that he can join us today as well as Jan-Jaap Kennigetter. And if you have any questions for our presenters, just type them into the questions field there on your control panel. And at the end of the webinar, we will get through as many questions as we can within the hour. So now let me hand you over to Dirk-Jan and Jan-Jaap.
Hi everyone. I think we have vision now. I thought I had a webcam in my screen, but it's plus now. So we're opening the vision. Hi, I'm Dirk-Jan and that's Jan-Jaap.
Hi.
It's not raining today at this moment, but it's changing. Sometimes raining, but it's not really sunny weather in Utrecht in the Netherlands. Welcome to our webinar, Survival Techniques for Testers. And like I said, I'm Dirk-Jan and that's Jan-Jaap. And we'd like to talk to everybody who thinks he's safe in his own job and feels secure in the role that he's playing, because we have the feeling that there's a lot of things changing out there in the world. Actually, there has been for many years, but the changes go faster and they go on. And so we started some discussions and had some few workshops, which were how can we survive as a tester in the big world out there. And we understand that some people are very busy with trends analysis and they know exactly what's going on. But we also speak with people that, well, are in their setting, in their environment, feeling safe, thinking they're in demand, so they're in their comfort zone. And we talked about it, like what can happen if you're in your comfort zone. Somebody might, well, break the bubble, and we don't want you all who's attending to be standing there out there looking for a job or a new assignment, only to find out that things have changed in the outside world. Maybe not in your organization, but the demands are changing and you might have difficulties in getting a nice challenge, a nice new job. So that's basically the summary of our motivation, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So we're talking a lot about changes. What is changing? Of course, there's the big Agile, which you can see on the curved arrow as representation. We talked when we made this webinar about outsourcing, although in my environment that seems to be a little bit ceased to be a discussion topic. But Agile is, with on one hand, the business agility, so doing biz agile or something like that, and the other side is DevOps testing. We got the Internet of Things as a hype thing, which puts a lot of emphasis on non-functional testing. And if you read the benchmarkers, there's a lot of things going on. And the little blue book with the Dutch line on it says bepaal je koers, which is something like set your course for the future. Which is a book that we wrote a few years ago with a group of people from the Dutch Testnet Association, which was kind of dealing with the same topic, like what's changing in the world, what's changing in the way we work as a professional, how's IT different nowadays, and what does that mean for the role as a tester. And then we have that one pyramid left that I didn't apply to or didn't put the focus on. That's what we call the tester's pyramid. And basically what I want to say with that, for years it was a natural, I think, growth path that you started as a tester doing your test design, you were a test executor or test analyst, and then you became a team lead and then you grew on to test management. With recent discussing, I'm not really sure why we put test consultancy all the way in the top, because you got test consultants that do test design as well. But there was a hierarchy that you become a test manager and then you had your own team of testers. And that's not that often happening anymore. So although there's less test managers in the old world than there are test analysts, I think there are even little or as test managers nowadays, especially in an agile context?
Definitely in Agile you see that the testers are part of the team, and sometimes there's test manager outside of the teams, but in most organizations there's no test management anymore, so the curve of the pyramid is changing, and there's more need for specialists in this.
Yeah, so I refer to the little book that we wrote for the Dutch TestNet Association. We have one important page on that, which you can see here. I have to move the webinar control a little bit on the side so I can see what's on the slide. It's a graphical representation of old roles, which you see on the left side: the test engineer, the tester, the test coordination, the test manager, the test consultant, and some of the new roles which have not been translated very well. But we came up with something like a test facilitator, somebody that helps the team with the environment and everything around it. Acceptance manager, somebody who's guiding the organization in accepting the new solution. Cultural hosts, very much in, we thought that when we wrote the book about outsourcing, but you can think about if you have a supplier that's doing agile while you're doing waterfall or the other round. So somebody can switch in between. The super tester, some governance kind of thing, compliance auditor, business consultants, and programmer. And with the lines, we try to indicate how logical it would be from transferring from one role to the other. I'm not saying that the new roles that we came up with are the roles that should be in the job application, so that you see. But we try to get a feeling like what is it, what would be likely for you to become a future career path, and what things might be a little bit illogical at first. So from this picture we can draw the conclusion that it's time to change, and if we don't change, well, maybe our bubble will burst and we find that we are out of demand, or we cannot do the nice job that we want to do. So we need to find computer is doing something stupid. We need to find survival strategies. Like how can we assure that we're not becoming the dinosaur, the testing dinosaur that nobody really wants, that's just sitting there in the corner, which is not in demand and is probably likely to extinct. And that's where I hand over to you, I guess.
Yeah, thank you, Dirk-Jan. Then we came up with the Pieshaped Tester, but before we explain the Pieshaped Tester, I would like to introduce the Tshaped Professional. Well-known concept, first conceived by David Guest in 1991, and if you look back on his message, he said we don't need specialists, we don't need generalists, we need people who are both specialists and generalists, because if you're a specialist you should be able to communicate with other specialists, so you should know at least something of the specialization of other people. And it became quite popular and was introduced into the testing world by Robert Lambert and Lisa Crispin, and they came up with presentations and workshops. What skills and what knowledge do you need to develop on the horizontal and on the vertical column of the T? And that's what the T-shaped is. You need both broad and generic knowledge and skills, like project management, like knowing the basics of programming, knowing the basics of business analysis, etc., etc. But you need to have a specialization, and the message was most of the time that we need to be specialized in testing. Then there came the discussion, are we talking about knowledge or skills? And that was settled by saying that we both need to develop generic knowledge and then specific knowledge, and generic skills and specific skills. Then the discussion came, what's more important? Specialization. But the actual level is the minimum of knowledge and skills. Suppose you have very much knowledge of testing, but you do not have the skills who are important for testing.
So
then
for instance, you can find bugs very good, but you cannot bring the bad news as skill.
Yeah, or investigation skills, things like that. Then the actual level is the minimum of those both. You have different kinds of T's. Of course, you need to have both legs, the horizontal and the vertical. But the T on the left, the bridge builder, has very much broad knowledge. The old generalist, who can explain different things to different people, and but his specialization is not that deep. You also have the super specialist, who knows really everything about testing, but at least they need to have some of the horizontal to be able to explain that. Both are important, both are wanted in the environment, but also here you need to have both. And then we came up with the Pieshaped Professional. That's someone who specialized in, for instance, testing and something else within testing. Examples like tooling, requirements, agile, things like that. So you do not have one specialization, you need two specializations to have your own picture, to have your own personality, and to have your own specialization, and to give what gives you extra value in the market.
Because I think what we see is that the job of tester becomes more versatile. So just testers that are doing their method testing, that are just doing their test design and execute over and over manually, they're getting in the corner. So especially with Agile, you have to collaborate with a lot of different specialties, business analysts, etc. People ask more from you. Yeah. So we came in, maybe the T-shape is a good model, which it is, I think, but it's a little bit outdated. So we came into a mind investigation experiment, like what happens if we extend the model. Yeah.
That's how we came up with the Pieshaped Professional. That was the basic idea. Oh yeah, the comp shaped on the right bottom. Some people develop more than one specialization, and it's difficult to keep up with different specializations. So maybe you shouldn't choose that one, but still there are people who have different specializations. This was the basic idea, and then we thought, shall we work it out a bit deeper and define specializations? And then we thought, well, maybe we should ask it to the community what specializations there could be. And then we come up with a workshop which Dirk-Jan will explain to you.
Yeah, because here you see Jaap in action in Maastricht during the Eurostar conferences last year, and we repeated it for the TestNet, the Dutch Test Association. So we did a workshop now, I think, altogether with the over 200 test professionals, and we can add 100 people listening now to it as well. So we're getting some coverage here. The workshop that we gave was, like Jaap said, not really a tutorial in the form like we're tutoring you how to do it, and was more of the crowd sessions where we facilitated people and let them do the work and let them share their knowledge and benchmark their ideas, which was highly appreciated. And during the workshop, we had one very big question, and it was like, if we want to identify a second leg, if we want to go from T-shape to Pieshaped, what specialty would be wise to grow as a leg? So not what are you doing, but what would you advise your fellow colleagues in the trade? And actually we were both stunned by how many different possibilities there are. So if you really come in a group brainstorm session with 50 people or more, well, we got in the 2 sessions, we got each 2 flip overs, which is an immense diversity of things that you can do. So the good news is, I think, that if you're bored with testing or you feel that there's no future in testing for you, there's a lot of things that you can do. But during the rest of this webinar, we will go a little bit more in detail and try to find a means in what is wise to do and what is not. So we had flip overs in the session as a brainstorm with a lot of different roles. We will show a few of them later on. But we wanted to go into group sessions, so we wanted the diverse. So we did some dot voting, which you can see here how a crowded session goes with a lot of people, and voting for the things that they would like to advise to their colleagues as a wise investment for the future. And let's go into a little bit more detail. This is the statistics that Jan-Jaap prepared for me.
Yeah, this is the outcome of both of the workshops put together, and well, the number one by far was test automation. Well, I recognize that test automation is a very important topic at the moment. A lot of organizations are automating their tests, and with Agile or DevOps you really need to do it, so could completely understand that one. Programming, to be honest, not my cup of tea. I did programming for 3 months and then I became a tester and I became happy. Yeah, well, it is true in a sense. But yeah, those testers who can really program very well they are very asked for in Agile context. Requirements management, my cup of tea combined with testing. So really the functional person who's in the project from the start, making, eliciting and documenting the requirements until the end, the testing. One that was difficult to prepare in detail was domain knowledge, that you have a lot of domain knowledge and that makes you a good tester. We also had different things on Agile, like the combination with Scrum Master, and where I have my assignment right now, the Scrum Master is also the tester, and it's really a good combination. And if you have the right skills, it's a good possibility. Of course, a trainer, test consultant, end-to-end testing, which is also more important, especially in the Internet of Things environment. Usability testing, risk management, and performance testing are the last one of the top 10. There are 42 different roles. Yeah, the answer is always 42, but in this case it was really 42. But these were the top 10. And I recognize the things that are happening today in this top 10 of the second legs.
Yeah, I was surprised by a few of them. I remember technical writing to be a surprising one. Somebody wanted to guide disabled people in the organization, which was another very nice one, which I cannot come up with now.
Yeah, there were different. I can't think of one right now, but
so in the brainstorm, a lot of nice things. In the dot voting, we tried to bring it down to like 5 or 6 different ones that we can handle in the workshop, so we can have group discussions, and so that's what we did. So the next assignment was, if you choose your future path, take a profile, take a second leg, and brainstorm within your group. You see people making different groups, being dispersed over the room, and trying to define what skills and what knowledge are required in order to be a test automator or a requirements manager or an Agile specialist.
You can find the details of the outcome in the notes of the session. But of course, then it comes up to you. What do you want? What do you, in which direction do you want to develop yourself? In which direction do you want to grow? And suppose you've got no idea and you say, well, let's take the number 1, test automation. Well, this is the outcome combined of the 2 workshops of test automation. And maybe if you look at it, then you will see some things you know, but suppose that you see a lot of things that don't really fit your personality, your skills right now, the things you're good at and the things you want to develop. Then you may have a problem. Well, if you want to develop something, this picture helped me a lot. Well, not the picture actually, the thing to the right. That you have to ask yourself 3 questions. What do I like to do? Well, if I look at myself, I want to struggle with the functionality. What does the system do? So talk to the users and see if the processes work. The ACE, what are you good at? Well, yes, I like to interview people, so and technique is not really my cup of tea. And of course, where can you make money? We saw some of the ideas for second leg where we doubt if you can make a job out of it. So you have to ask yourself that question as well, can I make money out of it?
The interesting about the model is of course that you want to be in the middle. I'm pointing at the webcam, so my finger probably gets used. But you want to be where the circles overlap, because then you're doing things that you like, things that you're good at, and that you pays your mortgage. And the other things are very interesting because there might be things that you like, but you earn a lot of good money with, but you're not good in it. I think that's the short-term thing. It's not sustainable. But the other thing is also a problem. The things that you're good at, earn a lot of money with. It's a little bit like the golden cage. You cannot get out of it. You don't like it, but everywhere you want to go, you earn less money. So you end up doing things you don't like. And the things that you're good at, of course, are the things that people ask you to do. So you better show yourself as being good in the things that you're good at and that you like. So you get good questions for that. But we'll come back to that later.
So we've seen test automation. Well, I think I could learn it, but maybe not my cup of tea. Let's look at the second one, programming. Like I said, I've done programming for about 3 months, and then I thought, oh my.
But you do good on the analytical skills and the critical thinking, I think.
Yeah, that was true, but the scripting, unit testing, code generators, well, I wasn't happy in that job, and then I found testing, and like I said, I became happy. So also not really my thing, but maybe yours. The third one was requirements management, and well, that's really a specialization I also acquired in the last few years. So, and maybe you see some things here where you say it's important for all the different second legs, all the different combinations, like communication, like modeling techniques, like creativity. But the amount of communication, the level of communication, the level of creativity for a requirements analyst is higher than for the average tester. So you need to be more creative, more communicative, need to know more modeling techniques compared to an average tester. And looking back at my own career, I could say that requirements management really became my second leg. And in a lot of projects, I started as a requirements analyst and ended up as a tester. And yeah, it was great. Agile is also a possibility. Well, I think Agile is the second leg of Dirk-Jan, who is also doing a lot of Agile transitions, I have to say. So that's really his second leg specialty, and that divides Dirk-Jan. Well, there are more ways he divides from me, but that's why he gets different assignments and why he is unique in the markets and why I'm unique in the market. So hey, now it's up to you.
Yeah. Don't point at me, point at you at home, because what we showed you was a little bit the process that we think the demands of testers are changing. You're being asked to do more variations of things. The things that you're doing are sometimes well, becoming less valued in your environment. So we want to prepare you for future steps. So basically it's like well, getting ahead of you already and thinking a little bit about what will the future bring, and if my bubble is about to burst, what are the things that I need to be able to be good at. So don't be surprised by that. Well, we interviewed a lot of people at the sessions and showed some of the profiles. We understand that that's not really well-depth stuff because it's just a webinar and we don't have that much time. But it might be a nice thing for yourself to think what things suits me best, what are the things that I'm good at, what I like and might be profitable for me, and does that fit me? But if you make the choice for your profile, that's basically what we ask people to do in the webinar itself, and and say like, what does that mean for you? And we ask them to make some kind of action plan for themselves. How do you become a specialist? How do you profile yourself with your new second leg? That's something which takes time. That's why you probably start now rather than when your bubble bursts. And we say the best thing to become a specialist is by doing it. It's in the left lower corner. Nothing beats the real thing. You need to have a track record and have done stuff, otherwise it's just theoretical knowledge. And if you want a new job and say, I think I like it, but I've never done it, well, you know you have a poor case. But you need to learn, of course, before you get the trust by people so you can do it. And there's a lot of ways of learning it, and basically we want to ask yourself to be creative with yourself or with your fellow people that might be in the same situation. You got test bashes, the people that organize weekend events where you can do some testing, that kind of events, hackathons where people meet during the weekend, for instance, to build new functionality. Those are typical open environments where you are allowed to step outside your role and maybe do things that you're not familiar with. So you can show yourself as, hey, I'm interested in this stuff and I'm actually doing a good job with it. Because there's a lot of overlap, as you could see. So testers do have a lot of skills already that if you encourage them a little bit, let them bloom a little bit, might be very well fitting with a new specialism. But talk with peers, go in your organization and say like, hey, you're requirements analysts, I'm really interested in this. Can we have a cup of coffee in the bistro where we have the good coffee? I buy it, and you tell me how it is, like that kind of stuff. Or download the tool that you want to evaluate, especially for the more technical stuff. Do your reading. When did you read your last book? Do a course, maybe an online thing. I added a do you test on it, which is basically doing the real thing. I did that myself when I want to do more mobile testing, which wasn't done in my organization where I did my assignment back then. And I thought, well, then I do it in the weekends, and I can say I do some mobile testing. But if you do it, if you learn it, and the more you learn, the more likely it is that you can do it, because you can sell yourself, you can explain why you think you're able to do that. You need to show people that you have the knowledge, of course, and that's what we call the profiling stuff. This is where the good stuff comes, because we made ourselves a model which we're very proud of. But anyway, you might want to tell people that you're really interested in that. And how do you go about profiling? Do you want to introduce our magnificent model?
Now I want to say first something about the doing. There's nothing stopping you to do things, and by doing you also find out where your lack of knowledge is. I try to do new things at least 1 hour a week. That ain't much, I know, but in a whole year you try new stuff, 50 hours at least, and just do it. It's just you know, like the Nike shirt, just do it. And that's how I started with requirements eliciting and documenting. I saw some requirements which were very poor, I thought, so I just rewrote them. Nobody asked me to, but I thought I can do a better job here. And then I showed it to someone, and I showed it again a week later, new requirements, of course. And I just started to do it. And then they asked me to become a requirements analyst. I didn't, I did something on learning, but not much. I just started to do it, and don't be afraid of it. Dirk-Jan, can I ask you to introduce our great profiling model?
This is the profiling curve by us. So we coined the term, or whatever. It's just kidding. But basically, if you want to let the world know that you're that you're interested in something or have a specialty, there are things that are very easy but have very limited effect. But imagine that if you start retweeting all the things that are #Agile, and all the people in your environment follow that will probably see happening that. And say like, hey, suddenly you're much more into Agile or requirements engineering or programming or whatever second leg you choose. A little bit more difficult is when you start to grow your own opinion and you make a tweet yourself. So you're not simply retweeting, but you're stating something for yourself. The same thing helps, I think, tweets low threshold, blog posts a little bit more, but reply to a blog post. Find a blog post on the topic that you're interested in. Try to find your opinion. Say what you like about the blog post or make a critical note. Because then all the people, well, they will see that you have some knowledge about it, and you force yourself, I think that's the best thing, to think about it more critically, and maybe that fits in the one doing a new thing as well.
Yeah.
But you could extend it even more and write a blog, or maybe organize a session at work. Say like, nobody's doing whatever you think is appropriate. Why don't we have a lunch session with the department, and I want to tell something about it and share our ideas. So you force yourself to have an opinion and to do some reading, to share your experience that you have, although they might be limited. But in the end, everybody in the department will think like, hey, he was the guy that was talking about the topic that you was. So that's a one-time event, but you could start a special interest group or a community and organization. And well, we're in the conference scene, so why not talk at a conference? So to show that you have an opinion, show that you have an opinion that matters. That might be a little bit more challenging, but has definitely a high impact.
And you don't have to start over there. Before I started to talk at conferences, well, there wasn't Twitter back then, but I started to do other things. And looking back at some blogs I wrote, I don't support them anymore, but it was in my own development a very important thing to start writing blogs. So you could also start at the left, and maybe you will end up on the right at your star.
Yeah, don't make it too hard on yourself, but start now. That's, I think, just do it.
Yeah.
That's the idea. I find this is not the only way to do that, but it's just as an idea of like start with simple stuff and build up from there. So basically, that's our main story. So we end up with the wrap up. And what we tried to tell you was that that you might be feeling comfortable, or you might not be feeling comfortable in your current situation, but the outside world is changing very quickly. There's a lot of things happening, and your bubble might burst, and you don't want to become the dinosaur that's basically nearly extinct, sitting in the corner and nobody is wanting you. You want to do the nice stuff. You want to come up with your time. And to be honest, in the workshops, I have seen people struggling, for instance, with things like Agile, which I thought they were common knowledge and they were completely new for them. And I remember there was the session at the testnet where there was one person that actually started with my first question, are you comfortable with your job? And he was like, yeah, I'm comfortable. And somewhere halfway the tutorial said like, yeah, now I understand what you mean. And he wrote me a thank you email. With saying like my bubbles burst, and now I'm aware that I was in a comfort zone which was very thin ice actually. So we extended the model, we investigated different roles that you can do, and we thought you can have a strategic decision, things that are most likely to become well-in-demand skills, but don't forget yourself in the equation. Do things that you like as well, that you're good at. And start now with your self-deployment by doing stuff, by learning things, and by profiling it.
And of course, you have to be a specialist on testing, but find your second specialty where you can develop yourself.
And then you move beyond the T-shape and you learn the survival techniques. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll move over the question panel, so there might be some people that have a question. We're open for suggestions.
Okay, let's just go through some of the questions that have come in here for you guys. One question I have here is asking where the attendees can find the outcome of the workshop in more detail.
You can find it on the blog by Dirk-Jan. Just type in Google Dirk-Jan blog and you will find his blog, and there you will find the details of both the workshops.
Yeah, all the slides are on there, all the flip overs.
All the flip overs, pictures, slides, everything. Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit more about the response that you got to the workshop?
Well, there was this one lady in Maastricht at Eurostar, and at the end of the session, everybody was standing up and walking away, and she was just sitting and watching to something. But well, I said, well, this was the end of the workshop, and she said, well, yeah, thank you. You made me think again, and I really have to rethink this. And that was one of the best compliments I got, that people started to think again which direction they should go. And well, I've never seen this lady anymore, but I really would like to know what she ended up with.
Very good. Yeah, I was surprised by how enthusiastic people were, because basically we just asked them, what can you do in the future, and what skills do you think are important for a programmer or a test automator or whatever. But people really got engaged and thought it to be really important things. So I hope on the people that are listening now, that some people also say like, hey, I should give it some thought.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a few questions coming in. Let me just have a look and see what we have here. Can you give an example of a profile? Sorry, can you give an example of profile of a sample Pi-based tester?
Well, we gave 4 of them, and
I think we hide it, the slide. Can you see this now?
Yes, indeed, you can.
Yeah. So these are 3 possibilities: requirements, tooling, and management. Could also be in the 3 amigos of a agile team, or be the project manager. I also have seen people who are in a management role in the business who also do some testing, so they really acquire testing to their T-shape.
So, and I think this is a little bit distracting picture, because in this example we took second legs that divert quite a bit from the testing discipline.
Yeah.
Because we want to have an open discussion. But you could think about test automation, for instance, as a thing, or maybe security testing, or usability testing, or mobile testing, which are things that sometimes we end up with the discussion that people say, is it the second leg, or is it just part of the ordinary testing discipline? Well, the model doesn't have guide rules for that, guidelines. So if you say it's a second discipline, then it's a second discipline. And I think it's a little bit about personal branding. So if you say I'm a tester and you do a lot of mobile testing, then underneath your email probably says I'm a tester.
Yeah.
And if you say, hey, I'm a tester but I'm specialized in mobile testing, probably underneath your email says I do mobile testing as well.
Yeah.
In your signature. So it's depending on how you want to profile yourself and what you want that people ask you about. I had a discussion with some of my colleagues who was gaining his agile profile, and he said like, yeah, should I put agile on my signature of my email? And I said, like, if you want people in the organization to ask you questions about agile, maybe you should put it on there, because then people will think like, I have a question about agile. Oh, that guy is stating every mail that he has like, I'm a tester and I know about agile, or how you phrase that. So maybe he knows. But don't do it before you think that you can answer some of the questions that you get.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any other questions?
There's another question here, and the question is asking end-to-end testing and usability testing, don't they belong to leg 1?
I think I answered that question now, that it's not strict defined, so there could be a second leg if you want to profile yourself as an end-to-end tester, make it your second leg.
I've been in an organization with a very complex technical environment, architecture, and their end-to-end testing was really specialty, second lag thing, because you need to have special knowledge to do that. So not every tester could do the end-to-end testing. In that environment, yes, end-to-end testing is a specialty. I think usability testing is also really different from other ways of testing, other Pieshaped profiles. So yes, in my opinion, usability testing is a specialty. On the other hand, I think all testers should have some knowledge of the end-to-end testing and usability testing, at least understand what it is, so that they can recognize when end-to-end testing and usability testing should be done. But then it's part of the horizontal again, so on the top.
Let's have a look at another question here. Do you see testing a skill and automation testing another? I find them to be more and more dependent on each other, and I was wondering if any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I could agree on that. That nowadays, if you don't know anything about test automation, I think you might already be a bit like a dinosaur. Sorry for the people who don't feel comfortable with what I'm saying, but I think test automation is almost must-have nowadays.
But the other way around, I think there are some test automators that say, I can help you making the framework and making the scripts in a good way. So setting it up, introducing it in your organization, but don't ask me to make functional design translation into tests that you want to execute, because I'm not interested.
In the organization where I work, we have 3, maybe 4 Selenium specialists. They really know the details of Selenium, but much more testers are using Selenium. So by the time they got questions or it gets complicated, they ask these specialists to come in for a day or maybe 2 days, and they acquire the knowledge they need in their situation. But these 3, 4 really good specialists on Selenium, they developed their second lag really good. So yes, every tester should have some knowledge of test automation, but still you have some specialists who really have knowledge in depth.
Okay, and what do you think about the future of QA? Do you think the future will change QA to QA dev?
Well, the problem with QA is always that people have a different thought and different definition of quality assurance. So first, I would like to ask, what do you think QA is? Personally, I think testing can be a part of QA, but QA is much more. Things like reviews, like standards, auditing, and also making sure that the right decisions are made to deliver quality. I think that skill will still be needed. QA doesn't always have very positive sounds to everybody.
In the Netherlands, it has a bad ring to it.
Yeah, in most organizations. There are always exceptions, sorry. But I think the skill QA is for it. To do quality quality activities early project. So I think you could say that QA is a second lag, but maybe you should call it differently.
Do some branding on it.
Yeah, do some branding on it. I hope that's an answer to the question.
There's another question here that's asking, it says not everyone can and want to be a test superstar. How do you survive with lower ambition level?
Yeah, I'm having difficulties with this question. So I find it very hard to say that because I like to work with people that have at least a passion for what they're doing, So if you don't want to be good in what you're doing, why are you doing it? So my true advice would be, if you don't have the ambition to grow as a professional with the work that you're doing, think about the 3 circles that overlap. You might be stuck somewhere where you're doing things that you don't really like. So go and search for the things that you want to be good at.
Yeah, I've been an HR manager, well, about 15 years ago or something, a long time ago. And in that period of time, when someone asked me for a career advice, I always said, follow your energy. And if you don't feel the energy flowing when you're testing, just think back on the last moment you felt energy and you felt great, and start doing that. Develop yourself in that direction. Of course, there need to be jobs in that direction. But follow your energy, and I think if you stop developing yourself, then that's the start of the ending of your career. So yeah, I agree with Dirk-Jan that if you don't feel the energy for it, don't do it, maybe.
Yeah, so for the person that raised this question, I hope this triggers you something,
yeah,
if we interpret it in the right way.
Yeah.
Because we get happy by people that enjoy doing what they do.
Yeah.
Another question, Derek?
Yes, the next question here, it's more of a your feedback here. This person is saying that I think my second leg is leadership. I am a team lead, and I want to regard it as an interest and specialism rather than just the other part of my role. For example, I follow the Very Good Software Lead weekly. Do you see this as a valid second leg within your model?
I think so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If the organization where you work gives value to this role, yeah, it's a very good second leg. I think you have extra benefits for the organization by doing this. You have extra value for the organization. So yes, develop it and use it. And maybe it's difficult to find a job on this if you're trying to come into a new organization. But I just changed jobs about 3 months ago, and I also found out by now that I have different skills and different things I use in my new job. So it's not always the way you think up front.
Yeah, and with leadership, I'm not really sure whether that's a continuous job, but it triggers me also that I really like to host workshops, etc., and sessions. So very often within organizations, I have my ordinary assignment, and then when a workshop is needed, they come to me and say, like, there's a workshop, can you moderate it? And then if I have time, I say, yeah, I love to do that. With leadership things, I think there's some interest for those things as well. Yeah. So I like it because it's somebody that raised the question that's really passionate about putting that part of him forward because he enjoys doing that. So very good.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we do one more, Derek?
Yes, sure. I'll try and find one here now. There's a few coming in, so I'll try and pick one. One person here is asking, isn't programming mandatory for testers these days?
Well, if you're a usability tester, I would say no. As a combination of requirements analysis and testing, I did not really needed it. I do have basic knowledge of programming. But I've seen a lot of testers, especially in more technical projects who are in a Scrum team, who really need to have knowledge of the programming language. So yeah, I hate the answer, it depends, but yeah, it really depends. Sorry.
I did organizational process testing. That was how users were working with the system and whether they were doing all the things right. It has nothing to do with programming.
No.
But if you're in an agile team and you need to test and retest everything, do the regression testing within the sprint, yeah, you should.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I think
Yeah,
we'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you very much for taking time out to run today's webinar, and there was lots of questions there, so thank you for all of our attendees there and your questions. The blog that Dirk-Jan was referring to, he also blogged about it for Eurostar in his monthly blog there, the GRU testing, and just share a link with you here first, and you should be able to see that there now. And we have some more webinars coming up this month that I'm sure you'd enjoy. There's a webinar taking place tomorrow called Understanding Linguistic Testing End-to-End with Irfan Ahmed and Rajini Padmanabhan. And also right now you can avail of a 10% discount on your ticket for Eurostar using our early bird discount. So if you head over to Eurostar, you can find out more details on that there. So that's it from us here today, and thank you all again. We hope to see you at future webinars, and take care, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.
Thank you.